With its steel and glass towers reaching into the sky, Paris's business district La Défense was long a symbol of dynamism and modernity. But that was before COVID-19 and the new era of remote work.
It's more than a crisis, it's a total paradigm shift.
Today, brand new skyscrapers are half empty and ageing buildings have become obsolete.
The empty offices mean fewer people are coming to the district.
Right now we have a business district that has lost its purpose, that has no direction and too much office space.
Is La Défense doomed? Or can it reinvent itself? Esther Michael opened her Japanese restaurant in La Défense in 2020. Back then, it seemed like a promising business, but she was quickly disillusioned. First, she was forced to close for months during the COVID lockdown. Then customers started returning, but not every day.
Often I'm not here on Fridays because there are practically no customers. Today we're lucky that one of our regulars reserved a table. She comes specifically on Fridays to support us.
So this is a black sugar cream. This is à la Défense.
The difficult thing is that we depend almost entirely on office workers, and since COVID and the switch to remote work, well, on Fridays there's no one here. On Thursdays we have so many customers that we have to turn away up to 50 people, but the other days don't compensate for the missing customers on Fridays and Mondays.
With the restaurant busy only 3 days a week, Esther is deep in the red.
I sold the only thing I had, my home, and I put all that money into paying back rent, but now I'm unable to cover my rent again. If the restaurant goes under, I'll be homeless. Luckily, I know the best places for homeless people in La Défense, but it's that bad for me.
Many businesses around Esther's have already closed their doors. This space was once a branch of a large restaurant chain. It's been vacant for months. Esther is holding out in a neighbourhood in decline, and she isn't giving up easily. She's teamed up with another shop owner to map La Défense's unoccupied buildings in the hopes of bringing attention to the situation and rallying support.
We've already made good progress on the inventory of all the buildings under renovation. All that's left is the northern section. The red dots are all the high rises that are unoccupied or partially occupied, either because they're available but vacant or because they're under renovation.
Since we started the organisation, we've been fighting for the truth to come out. It suits everyone to pretend that there are no problems in La Défense, because if they say there are, it will put off new investors. So no one is crunching the numbers or daring to say what's really going on in La Défense.
Ouais, ce quartier-là, il faudra qu'on termine l'inventaire. Je pense que c'est la priorité pour avoir une vision complète.
Two other skyscrapers next to our businesses are among the biggest, and they're going to empty out over the next year, so the hemorrhage is continuing.
Officially, around 15% of real estate in La Défense is vacant, or 19%, including space that's not on the market. But property analysts believe those numbers are significantly underestimated, as they exclude buildings in need of renovation. Skyscrapers like this one, ageing and no longer fit for purpose. 1.5 million square metres of offices in La Défense are in line for renovation in the next 15 years, a whopping 40% of the existing property. A huge challenge, admits the head of Paris La Défense, the public body that manages the financial district.
These are the buildings that should be the focus of our attention and efforts. They need new investment, either to turn them into office space suited to today's needs, or to convert them into other uses. That could be for housing, it could be for education, it could be for leisure or entertainment, but in any case, something other than office space. That way, we will be able to meet the central challenge of diversifying and improving the quality of life in La Défense.
But there are obstacles. The value of vacant skyscrapers in need of renovation has crashed. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, sale prices were an average of €6,400 per square metre. Now they're a fraction of that, €233 per square metre, even going as low as €88 for an office building that's set for conversion into another use. A report commissioned by AUD, the Association of Users of La Défense, published in October 2024, warns that low property prices could just exacerbate the problem.
The proven risk is that the owners of obsolete high-rise buildings put their redevelopment projects on hold as they wait for better days.
In other words, the outdated skyscrapers of La Défense cost very little but are too expensive to renovate, which means they could stay empty for a lot longer. Jean-Christophe Fromentin is the mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine, an affluent suburb nestled between Paris and La Défense. He's writing a thesis on business districts in crisis.
If we don't act, given the cost of demolishing an obsolete high-rise, we run the risk of having more and more of them left forgotten and abandoned. So it's a question of priorities, of ambition, and what do we do with La Défense? It costs tens or even hundreds of millions of euros to demolish a high-rise, even if it's obsolete. So we need to send a message to the owners of these buildings to tell them where we want to go, so that in the end we share the same aim to renew these towers.
But it's not just the ageing and abandoned buildings that can't find takers. Brand new skyscrapers are also struggling to attract tenants, like Hecla Tower. In this promotional video, it's hailed as the future jewel of La Défense. It was opened with much fanfare in 2022. It has 49 floors and 76,000 square metres of offices. The owners of Hecla Tower didn't respond to our inquiries about the building's occupation rate. But according to the director of Paris La Défense, 2/3 of the building remain vacant, which is not unusual.
We've always observed that simply because of the size of these buildings, there's a certain time gap between their launch, delivery, and occupancy. The Hecla Tower has nearly 80,000 square meters of office space, the size of 4 or 5 typical Parisian buildings. It's practically an entire neighbourhood of Paris, so it sometimes takes 2 or 3 years to find tenants. I don't deny that it takes perhaps a little longer today because it's more difficult to convince companies. They have their pick of office buildings throughout the Greater Paris area, and they're reviewing their real estate strategies. But in the medium term, I'm not at all concerned about the future of these very recent buildings.
Paris La Défense is actively looking for new investors. To attract them, it's highlighting the district's advantages, among them that it's a major public transport hub and that there's work underway to make it a more pleasant place to be. An ambitious plan to transform La Défense's expansive paved plaza into green space is set to begin in 2025. By the time the project is completed, 60% of the surface area should be planted, but it's not yet known how long the work will take. Some high-rises have already begun to diversify from office space to other uses. A business school moved into this building in 2022. Today, it occupies 8 floors.
This is one of the student co-working spaces in the Cœur Défense campus. The school has 13,800 square meters of space, and almost 3,000 of that is reserved for the students so they can work in groups, prepare presentations, watch videos before class. They can also eat and drink here. It's a place for all activities.
There are no large lecture halls here. Instead, students learn in small classrooms and modern open spaces. But the school's director says the real advantage is the strategic location.
ESC Business School is very international. The aim is to be closer to the headquarters of large corporations, whether they're foreign-owned or French companies that do a lot of business overseas. All the headquarters are within a radius of 150 meters, so that helps us to build relationships with the companies.
Marie is studying for an advanced degree. Before moving to the La Défense campus, she was based in the old location in a more residential neighbourhood in the city of Paris.
The old campus was really very small. It was shared by several schools, and we were really on top of each other. But here, we're in a business hub, so we're visible to the companies in the area, and I think we have far more opportunities to find an internship or work-study placement.
Alongside school buildings, another proposal under consideration is converting 150,000 square metres of vacant space into housing for 5,000 students. But the mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine says that doesn't go far enough.
If we say we're going to convert a few offices into housing, we're going to bring in a few students, we're going to try to keep a shopping center, put some retail back in, I don't think that's going to really inspire any investors. But if we say La Défense must be the French center for the humanities, for economics, for social science research, something hugely ambitious, then there will probably be a knock-on effect. Companies will ask themselves if this is really the right time to leave La Défense, given the ambitions for the district.
La Défense advocates say bringing the district back to life is in the national interest. In an op-ed, the mayor of Neuilly-sur-Seine called on the French president to make a commitment to La Défense the same way he did for the rebuilding of Notre Dame Cathedral and more recently for the renovation of the Louvre Museum. Esther Michael agrees that without political will, La Défense can't reinvent itself. The iconic skyscrapers that were once monuments of modernity could become relics of a business model that no longer exists.